So I'd like to dedicate this reading to my partner's mother, who just recently passed away after a long battle with cancer. And I want to start with this poem by Lucille Clifton, Blessing the Boats at St. Mary's. May the tide that is entering even now, the lip of our understanding, carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever. And may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that. And I'll read some poems from this chapbook of mine that just came out from Porkbelly Press. It's called Set the Garden on Fire. Church on a Wednesday. Laid out on the long wooden table, the donuts. You may laugh at this, but it's true. They were better than all the crumbly cereal, the stiff little packets of tea, instant coffee. I couldn't think charity with those donuts before me. Sweetness swollen to the size of baseball gloves, and bursting pink, white, even purple. Can you remember something as wonderful? My mother let me carry one home, the one I liked best. At home, I couldn't wait. I got down on the naked floor. Yes, I knelt. I held the treasure, its perfect purple-filled weight in two hands, my hands. And my mother glared at me. Don't eat, she said, like a poor person. And the jelly oozed out. A drop fell to the floor. But purple can't be poor. I know from books what purple is. The color of kings, the royal dye Hercules discovered, the secret gold of sea sails on an ancient coast, the mountains and their majesty, the heart, its bravery, believe me. Tale of the Knife and the Heart. On the balcony, my mother raised her meat cleaver to chop watermelon. I was with her for a moment, then back into the apartment, no purpose but summer and speed. And so my head met a desk corner, and so the sharp echo of the meat cleaver, the gleaming cry of the watermelon. My senses wanted to fly out my head, but gritting my teeth, I kept them in. My mother chopped everything with her meat cleaver, except over the years, meat. I'm becoming such a vegetarian, she said, like she needed an intervention. In fact, she was trying to intervene with her high cholesterol, high blood pressure, stress. You're making my heart bad, she said, when I did bad things. Stop running around, or one day you're going to have an extra hole in that head. The meat cleaver had a hole in its head, so you could hang it up in the kitchen. To me, it was also an eye, keeping watch, entering dreams. My mother walking the hallway to my room, her feet loud with intent, her hands with the glinting knife. She brought both of us all the way from China, but unlike me, it stayed Chinese. She was getting closer. I could almost feel the meat cleaver's eye. No, look, I'm writing the characters for broccoli. No, don't. It always ended as she was still approaching, as it was. I woke in a sweat, curled up in a ball, like a watermelon that had been spared. This is called Race to the Tree. 1. I was 13 and it was night, and without even knowing it, I'd successfully evaded the Amherst police for 4-5 hours. I was 13 and it was night, and without having committed any crimes, I was being pursued, looked into by the Amherst police. Well, perhaps I trespassed, scrambled up a tree way past mine and its bedtime. It was the big stoic oak that once served with dignity as safety. It was the oak close to my family's apartment, so close it was pathetic that the police couldn't find me, so close the oak might as well have been ours. But it wasn't. It belonged to the landlord. Every oak and pine and birch, every last tree in the apartment complex belonged to the landlord, whether or not he was there to climb each one himself. That's how it should be. Climb a tree, spend the night there, and it's yours. I had scaled to this old, safe tree with my running shoes, planning to run away. If not far away enough, then for long away enough that my parents would start to miss me. I was 13, it was night, and all night I stared at the moon from my tree, willing myself to think not of them, but of how cool it would be to kiss, to be kissed, oh moon, for a long time, for the first time, to be KISSING in this or any tree. 2. I wanted to kiss a boy on the throat, not the soft, smooth neck, but the protruding, tough core of a boy's throat. The part named after the very first boy and the stupid fruit his girlfriend made him eat. His girlfriend's ugly, I thought in my tree. I'd be much better for him. By dawn, I was still 13 and kissless, but had made it, using my spy and JV track skills 8 blocks away, without being detected, to the university, the glass and concrete country where my parents put on their best American accents and smiles to earn degrees, the equivalents of which they'd already earned in China. I was 13 and wouldn't have said it so succinctly, but I knew something about the sadness of the facts. Oh moon, hungry moon, unkissed and silent, I would kiss you. In that moment, though, I decided to spit and kick at the gray concrete, recalling Mom and Dad's idiot faces yelling at me. I was 13 and it was morning and the concrete deserved my punishment and my climbing it like a tree and my installing myself as the landlord here and everywhere and everyone should see. I was 13 and it was morning and my eyes hurt in the growing light. And then as the sun poured its useless gold on all the solid gray, as I was about to finally reach the top of the slanted edge of the wall, for the first time my speedy, stealthy sneakers failed me, and I slipped. 3. Ankle twisted and whimpering, I limped back home. My mother rushed out and greeted me with pale-faced silence, then a command to get in the car. As she drove me back to campus, this time to the student clinic, she told me that she had called and called the police, who had told her, "It will be all right, we'll find him," though they hadn't, maybe didn't even bother to find me. I said nothing, watching my mother's fingers tremble on the steering wheel. An hour later, I boarded the bus to school on crutches. At school, I told the boy I liked, the boy with the best mile times on the team, that I was just getting some extra practice and wasn't careful. And guess now I'll never be as good as you this season. He looked at me for a moment, looked away. I didn't tell him I spent all night in a tree because my mother slapped me after I told her I might be gay. I didn't tell him that I hit her back, that my father tried holding us apart like the universe's saddest referee, but still we kicked and screamed and hit and hit. I didn't show the boy the bruise, I didn't show the doctor. I said, "Good luck at the race today," then closed my eyes, thought of night, of the moon bobbing through it like an Adam's apple plucked out, bobbing through a dark absence of throat. Oh, silent and unkissed. That's how I wanted you to suffer too, boy who wouldn't look at me. Seeing you run so beautifully on the track that afternoon, I wanted you to suffocate, breath-starved from all the miles you'd run away from me. I was 13, I am 13. It is night, and if it's a race to the tree I've climbed alone for years, the tree that's felt like the loneliest but only safety, if that's the race, I will outrun you. So most of these are set in Amherst. I'm realizing Amherst, Massachusetts. This should be a familiar scene. As the snow falls, for Lynn. As the snow falls, I hear again my father shoveling our old car out of the snow, as the snow kept falling almost 18 years ago. Though I'm far from the year now, the town, I hear and love loud the eager young sound of the shovel right next to the gray car coughing awake. And I love my father, his arms and hands, the many small frenzied sounds of his joints bending, muscles lifting. I love my mother, who had witnessed only TV snow before this country, climbing into the car, the brave sound of her black boots. And I love her watching and hearing my father snap icicles off the car roof, her ears taking in that incredible crunch and break forever. I love my mother yelling at my father to hurry, love him hurrying carefully, love the old car trying its best to keep us warm, love my mother for shouting and cursing and laughing, her 2 immense lungs and 3 languages as the snow ceaselessly. I hear and love again her whole body beginning to do what it did once for me, and little me tagging along, my sleepy giddiness as I waited with my father, soon to be our father, and mother, our mother. I hear and love again that January night of blizzard and blessing, all 6.5 beautiful pounds, breathing. I hear and love you, brother, as the snow falls and falls, then and now, in your voice. So I think, I'll read this one and then I'll close with a poem, a newer poem. Second Steeping, for Anna. This one's set in the Berkshires, other parts of Massachusetts. Okay, Second Steeping. Leaves of time, sweetened into memory, we steep them again, drink them again, drinking the whole curious house on the mountain, the milky light, those 3 days slow to age, no, better than slow, unhurried, and us happy to put our sorrow on hold, to wander the quiet your grandfather built, your grandmother deepened, the paintings, abstract, medieval, the rugs, rabbit, floral, the shelves of cookbooks, picture books, books dispensing sex tips from the 60s, the mobile still moving in the former baby's room, pine cone, hawk feather, old crisp leaf turning. And one afternoon, the storm, the grandfather voice of thunder calling, the small kettles replying, and evening's post-rain purple walk, following your childhood map down to the witch's house, then back, big windows, hot tea, the kettle's silver singing, the night falling like hair, the darkness like kindness, welcoming us in, how you helped by switching off all the lights, then looked up at the moon, a crescent, a sideways milk mustache on midnight's face, then returned to the puzzle just begun, 500 pieces of your favorite band, our bodies, vanilla and jasmine, the night awake with our searching. And I'll close with this newer poem. First light. I like to say we left at first light, with Chairman Mao himself chasing us in a police car, my father fighting him off with firecrackers, even though Mao was already over a decade dead. And my mother says all my father did during the Cultural Revolution was teach math, which he was not qualified to teach, and swim and sunbathe around Piano Island, a place I never read about, in my American textbooks, a place everybody in the family says they took me to and that I loved. What is it to remember nothing of what one loved, to have forgotten the faces one first kissed? They ask if I remember them, the aunts, the uncles, and I say, yes, it's coming back. I say, of course, when it's no, not at all, because when I last saw them, I was 3, and the China of my first 3 years is largely make-believe, my vast invented country, my dream before I knew the word dream, my father's martial arts films, plus a teaspoon taste of history. I like to say we left at first light. We had to. My parents had been unmasked as the famous kung fu crime-fighting couple of the southern provinces, and the Hong Kong mafia was after us. I like to say we were helped by a handsome, mysterious northerner who turned out himself to be a kung fu master. I don't like to say I don't remember crying. No embracing in the airport, sobbing. I don't remember feeling bad, leaving China. I like to say we left at first light. We snuck off on some secret adventure, while the others were still sleeping, still blanketed, warm in their memories of us. What do I remember of crying? When my mother slapped me for being dirty, diseased, led astray by Western devils, a dirty, bad son, I cried, 13, already too old, too male for crying. When my father said, get out, never come back, I cried and ran, threw myself into night, then returned at first light. I don't remember exactly why, or what exactly came next. One memory claims my mother rushed into the pink dawn bright to see what had happened, reaching toward me with her hands, and I wanted to say, no, don't touch me. Another memory insists the front door had simply been left unlocked, and I slipped right through, found my room, my bed, which felt somehow smaller, and fell asleep for hours before my mother, anyone, seemed to notice. I'm not certain which is the correct version, but what stays with me is the leaving, the cry, the country splintering. It's been another 5 years since my mother has seen her sisters, her own mother, who recently had a stroke, who has trouble recalling who, why. I feel awful, my mother says, not going back at once to see her. But too much is happening here. Here, she says, as though it's the most difficult, least forgivable English word. What would my mother say if she were writing a poem, this poem? How would her voice sound? Which is really to ask, what is my best guess? My invented, translated, Chinese to English, English to English mother's voice. She might say, we left at first light. We had to. The flight was early, in early spring. Go, my mother urged. What are you doing, waving at me, crying? Get on that plane before it leaves without you. It was spring and I could smell it, despite the sterile glass and metal of the airport, scent of my mother's just washed hair, of the just born flowers of fields we passed on the car ride over. How I did not know those flowers were already memory. How I thought I could smell them, boarding the plane, the strange tunnel full of their aroma, their names I once knew, and my mother's long black hair, so impossible now. Why did I never consider how different spring could smell, feel, elsewhere? First light, last scent, lost country. First and deepest severance that should have prepared me for all others. Thank you.
Thank you so much.